This evening, first, the search for truth in Adriana Younge's death. More questions than answers. The Medical Council of Guyana has deferred its decision on granting short-term registration to Trinidadian pathologist Dr. Herbert Dasley, leaving the Younge family waiting for a fourth opinion in the investigation. Why the delay? And could this pathologist change everything? Plus, luxury cars and legal battles. GRA's $1.2 billion tax fight with the Mohameds. The Court of Appeal has upheld a ruling blocking the seizure of high-end vehicles owned by businessman Azruddin Mohamed. But as GRA plans another appeal, the fight is far from over. Are these luxury rights part of a political game? Also, President Ali unveils regional security hit-list strategy. Human capital, infrastructure, technology, just part of the HITLIST framework presented at the Association of Caribbean Commissioners of Police Conference. Can a unified regional approach transform security across the Caribbean? Meanwhile, bridge to the future. Demorara Harbor Bridge nears completion. The $260 million mega project is now 76.91% complete, promising to end daily traffic nightmares for Region 3 residents by August. We have the latest update on this game-changing infrastructure. Finally, trade war timeout. US and China agrees to ease tariff for 90 days. In a surprising breakthrough, the world's two largest economies have agreed to a temporary truce in their trade war. But will this ceasefire last, and what does this mean for global markets? Stay tuned, these stories and more tonight on Headline News Update. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for May 13th, 2025. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. First up, the Medical Council of Guyana has deferred its decision on granting short-term registration to Trinidadian pathologist Dr. Herbert Dasley, who was identified by the legal team representing the family of 11-year-old Adriana Younge to provide a fourth opinion in the ongoing investigation into her death. In a statement issued on Monday, the council said new information surfaced during its statutory meeting that was not available when Dr. Dasley was previously registered, prompting the need for further investigation. The Medical Council of Guyana has formally reached out to the Medical Board of Trinidad and Tobago for clarification. A final decision on Dr. Dasley's application will be made once the requested information is received and reviewed. Dr. Dasley is the second international pathologist engaged by the Younge family. Three others have already concluded that Adriana died by drowning, though additional toxicology tests are still underway. The family of Adriana Younge is calling for another post-mortem examination to be conducted by the Trinidadian pathologist, as they continue to question the findings of the previous autopsy, which concluded that the child died by drowning. Adriana was found dead in the pool of the Doubleday Hotel in Tushin, East Bank, Essequibo on April 24th, one day after she was reported missing while at the facility with her relatives. The case has drawn national attention and public scrutiny amid concerns over how it had been handled, despite the three renowned independent pathologists ruling that Adriana's cause of death was drowning. The child's grieving family remains dissatisfied with the results. According to their legal team, inconsistencies and unanswered questions remain, prompting their push for Dr. Dasley, a forensic pathologist based in Trinidad and Tobago, to conduct another independent examination. The Younge family, who have postponed Adriana's funeral, says they are hoping for complete transparency and justice before they can properly lay their daughter to rest. The investigation into Adriana's death is ongoing. It is being supported by international homicide expert Leonard Mukoshin, a retired officer of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who arrived in Guyana last evening to assist local detectives. Adriana's case evokes widespread sympathy and calls for a thorough, impartial investigation. The Guyana Court of Appeal has ruled against the GRA's attempt to seize luxury vehicles from businessman Azruddin Mohamed and his sister. Dale Jarvis has the details on the ongoing legal battle.
On Monday, the Guyana Court of Appeal dismissed an application by the Guyana Revenue Authority to overturn a High Court ruling that barred the agency from seizing several high-end vehicles owned by businessman Azruddin Mohamed and his sister Hannah Mohamed. The GRA claims the Mohameds owe more than $1.2 billion in unpaid taxes related to the importation of luxury vehicles. However, the appeal court, comprising Chief Justice Acting Roxanne George and Justice Nareshwar Haranan, upheld Justice Gino Persaud's earlier decision to preserve the status quo while the substantive case is ongoing. As a result, the disputed vehicles, which include a Ferrari, Rolls-Royce, Lamborghini, and multiple Land Cruisers, will remain in the Mohammeds' possession for now. The court also ordered the GRA to pay each sibling $300,000 in legal costs by June 30, 2025. Justice Persaud had ruled that allowing the GRA to seize the vehicles before the tax dispute is resolved would be premature and unjust. He also noted that issues surrounding remigrant tax exemptions and alleged undervaluation of the vehicles must be thoroughly examined. Following the ruling, GRA reiterated its stance, stating it has irrefutable evidence of tax breaches. It announced plans to appeal again, citing the absence of a bond to preserve the assets during the legal proceedings. Azruddin Mohamed has suggested the seizure attempt is politically motivated, alleging it stems from concerns by the ruling People's Progressive Party over his potential involvement in upcoming elections, an accusation the GRA has not addressed. The case continues to attract national interest due to the value and profile of the vehicles involved. In June 2024, the U.S. Department of the Treasury imposed sanctions on Nazir and Azruddin Mohamed and their company Mohameds Enterprise, citing extensive corruption and tax evasion in Guyana's gold industry. The sanctions also targeted two affiliated entities, Hattie's World and Team Mohammed's Racing Team, as well as May Thomas, a senior Guyanese government official, accused of facilitating the Mohammeds' activities through bribery. Reporting for Headline News Update, Dale Jervis.
Thanks, Dale. 5 men appeared before various courts between May 9th and 12th, 2025 in connection with the trafficking of more than 11 kilograms of cocaine. On Monday, May 12th, Roger De Freitas appeared before Magistrate Rabindranath Singh at the Port Kaituma Magistrates Court. He pleaded not guilty to trafficking over 11 kilograms of cocaine. Bail was denied and he was remanded until June 11, 2025. On May 9th, Wendes Pompeo was sentenced to 3 years in prison and fined $1.7 million after being found guilty of possessing over 1 kilogram of cocaine for trafficking. Magistrate Fabio Azor heard his case at the Georgetown Magistrates Court. Also on May 9th, Jason De Freitas pleaded not guilty to aiding Colin Alfred and Terence Bentic in trafficking over 11 kilograms of cocaine. He was granted bail in the sum of $500,000 on the condition that he surrender his passport and report to CANU's headquarters biweekly. Colin Alfred and Terence Bentic also appeared before Magistrate Magusti on May 9th. Alfred initially pleaded guilty while Bentic pleaded not guilty. Both were remanded. However, Alfred changed his plea to not guilty on May 12th and remains in custody. The cases stem from an ongoing Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit investigation. Stick around when we return. The new Demorara Harbour Bridge is near completion, promising to end traffic woes. And President Ali unveils HITLIST strategy to bolster regional security.
GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by June 30, 2025 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. It is the civic duty and legal responsibility of all Guyanese who meet the eligibility criteria to apply for registration. By doing so, you would be ensuring that you are issued a national identification card and be included in the official list of electors for future elections, providing you meet all eligibility criteria. This registration exercise will end on May 30, 2025. You need to apply for a transfer if you now live at another address since you were registered. For more information, contact the GCOM on 2250-277-9 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Speak clearly with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Current smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. President Dr. Mohamed on Monday introduced a strategic HITLIST framework to enhance regional security and resilience during his keynote address at the 39th Association of Caribbean Commissioners of Police Conference held at the Artichon Conference Center. The HITLIST initiative, an acronym for Human Capital, Infrastructure, Technology, Legislation, Intelligence System, and Training, aims to create a unified Caribbean security approach through investment in people, modernization, and shared intelligence. President Ali underscored the need for higher training levels and technological integration to reduce reliance on human input in policing. He highlighted Ghana's investment in a state-of-the-art forensic facility and legislative reforms to bolster crime-fighting capabilities across the region. The president urged the region to capitalize on training programs like India's ITEC and call for a joint effort from the policymakers, law enforcement, and civil society to tackle escalating issues such as homicide, firearm violence, and cybercrime.
These are all areas that continue to challenge us, challenge our security architecture. But I dare say that this security architecture does not operate in isolation. This is not a challenge for our commissioners and our security personnel. This is a challenge for our region. Policymakers, our commissioners and security architecture, the private sector, RGs, the religious community, every one of us. This is a regional challenge that requires an all-in approach.
Minister of Home Affairs Robertson Ben revealed that over $9 billion has been spent upgrading police infrastructure. At the same time, Police Commissioner Clifton Hicken stressed the urgency of a unified regional approach to cross-border and cybercrime threats.
We must become one faster, smarter, and more unified in our approach. This demands that we dismantle silos and build entrepreneurial across agencies from police and customs, the financial intelligence unit, and social services. It requires real-time intelligence sharing, regional surveillance, joint task forces, and the standardization of protocol and training.
Outgoing ACCP President Atlee Rodney called for mental health support for officers and deeper collaboration among Caribbean states. The week-long conference, themed United in Action, Transformed in Purpose, Building an Integrated Caribbean Security Architect, includes 24 visiting commissioners and focuses on strategy, training, and regional crime prevention. Region 3 residents can expect major traffic relief soon, as the new Demorara Harbour Bridge is on track for August completion. Dominic Gittins has the latest on the project's progress.
Residents of Region 3 can look forward to significant relief from daily traffic delays as the new Demorara Harbour Bridge is on track for completion by August. This is according to the Ministry of Public Works. In its latest progress report, the ministry noted that the $260 million bridge construction is over 76% completed. China Railway Construction International Limited is building the 2.8 kilometer span, employing over 1,300 workers, including 116 Guyanese. Significant structural works has already been completed. Pile caps are 98% installed, pier columns 94%, and tie beams 93%. Additionally, 91% of bent ties are in place, essential for supporting bridge spans and resisting loads like wind and earthquakes. Meanwhile, 85% of the precast girders are fabricated and 73% installed. Construction continues without any reported incidents or accidents on either side of the river. Once finished, the bridge will connect regions 3 and 4, boosting economic activity. It will be toll-free, allowing vehicles of all sizes and supporting speeds up to 80 kilometers per hour. Designed to last at least 100 years, the bridge will also incorporate the Classic Crown of Honor design, one of Guyana's highest national awards. Reporting for Channel 2 Headline News Update, Dominic Gittings.
Thanks, Dominic. 20 participants from various organizations have begun a 2-week intensive training in restorative justice at the Police Training Center in Georgetown. The initiative, launched Tuesday, is a collaboration between the Ministry of Legal Affairs, the Attorney General's Chambers, and the Canadian High Commission under the Canadian CARICOM Expert Deployment Mechanism. The training aims to equip participants with the principles and practices of restorative justice, an alternative, community-centered approach to conflict resolution that involves victims, offenders, and the wider community. Director of the Restorative Justice Center, Orrin Boston, highlighted progress since the Restorative Justice Act was passed in 2022, including establishing centers in Regions 3, 4, 5, and 10, and certifying 20 restorative justice officers under the Canadian Supported Program. Acting Chief Magistrate Faith Augusti lauded the initiative for its transformative impact and encouraged trainees to embrace their role in promoting healing, accountability, and community leadership. Canadian High Commissioner Sebastian Seguin also reaffirmed Canada's commitment to advancing access to justice in Guyana, noting that over 400 individuals have already been trained. The training supports Guyana's broader efforts to strengthen its justice system and aligns with Sustainable Development Goal 16, promoting peaceful and inclusive societies. Don't go away after the break. China seeks to strengthen trade ties with Latin America amid trade war, and UK Labour government toughens immigration plans as far-right gains support.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Current smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny?
I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
GCOM is currently conducting a national registration exercise. Who can register? Anyone who will be 14 years or older by June 30, 2025 and is a Guyanese citizen by birth, descent, naturalization, or is a citizen from a Commonwealth country living in Guyana for 1 year or more. Anyone eligible for registration is required to visit the GCOM registration office responsible for his or her area of residence to apply for registration. Persons who are already registered could apply for a name change if they have changed their names since they were registered. Apply for corrections if there is incorrect information on their national ID card. Persons who are desirous of conducting any of those transactions must provide the relevant supporting documents. Persons who have already registered must collect their new ID cards if they have not yet done so. This registration exercise will end on May 30, 2025. You need to apply for a transfer if you now live at another address since you were registered. For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-02-7729 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world. A campaign march in Veracruz, Mexico turned deadly when a mayoral candidate and 3 others were fatally shot Sunday night. A Facebook live stream captured the chaos as gunfire erupted, interrupting the festive procession. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum confirmed the attack, promising federal support for the investigation. Veracruz Governor vowed justice, condemning the violence. Attacks on political candidates have surged in Mexico's election period. China may have surpassed the U.S. as the main trading partner in South America, but that isn't stopping the Trump administration from trying to diminish Chinese influence in the region. Al Jazeera's Latin American editor, Lucia Newman, reports.
Since the end of the 19th century, the United States was the undisputed hegemonic power in Latin America, asserting its economic, political, and military dominance. But in the last 2 decades, that's changed.
China's perceived as a major economic superpower that has displaced the U.S. in 12 countries in Latin America. It has come to fill a void that will make it the most relevant economic power outside the region for the next 20 years, probably, or more.
The United States is still Latin America's largest investor, but its share is dropping steadily, while China has displaced the U.S. as South America's main trading partner, except for Colombia. The China Development Bank and China Export-Import Bank are providing $141 billion in loan commitments to regional governments. Investments are in energy and infrastructure, including ports and railways. And while China offers carrots, the Trump administration is using commercial and foreign policy sticks to try to offset what it calls China's threat to U.S. strategic interests.
This is a new reality. It's not enough for the United States to say we don't want Chinese presence in our ports, in regional infrastructure, or the distribution of electricity. There has to be an incentive, a positive presence.
Amid threats of using U.S. military force to take back the Panama Canal, Panama has signed an agreement to allow the Pentagon to use former U.S. military bases around the waterway for training American troops, even though this violates the Panama Canal treaties. South America is less susceptible, but equally exposed when it comes to the China-U.S. trade war.
Chile is a perfect example. It was the first Latin American country to sign a bilateral free trade agreement with the United States and then with China. Now, a planned $80 million Chinese observatory in Chile's Atacama Desert has been put on hold after the Trump administration complained that it posed a potential military threat.
No one is sure how far the U.S. is willing to go or how China could respond.
For South America and Latin America in general, where there are interests in both the US and China, the best strategy is to find a balance and intelligent autonomy through the use of diplomacy.
For the vast majority of Latin American countries, there is no other option, because as things stand, they can't afford to take sides. Lucia Newman, Al Jazeera, Santiago.
A breakthrough has been made in the trade war between the world's 2 biggest economies. The U.S. and China says they will decrease reciprocal tariffs for 90 days. After negotiations in Switzerland, U.S. levies on Chinese imports will be lowered to 30% and Beijing's tariff on U.S. goods will be capped at 10%. Al Jazeera's William Marks reports.
At a packed press conference in Geneva, US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent explained the substantial progress he'd promised the night before.
Both sides on the reciprocal tariffs will move their tariffs down 115%. We had very robust discussions. Both sides showed great respect.
He and the US Trade Representative Jameson Greer took part in intensive weekend negotiations. Besides a sunny Lake Geneva, in a Swiss government villa, where officials agreed that US tariffs on Chinese imports should drop back from 145% to 30% on most products for the next 90 days, with the Chinese side agreeing to much the same. China's top official here, the Vice Premier for Economic Affairs, HITLIST, indicated Beijing would not give ground easily.
China doesn't want to fight a trade war because trade wars produce no winners. But if the US insists on forcing this war upon us, China will not be afraid of it and will fight to the end.
The two countries have now created a consultation mechanism for further talks that could take place here, the US, China, or pretty much anywhere else. And this move ultimately marks a softening of recent US rhetoric too, as Secretary Bessent acknowledged.
The consensus from both delegations this weekend is neither side wants a decoupling. And what had occurred with these very high tariffs, as Ambassador Greer said, was the equivalent of an embargo, and neither side wants that.
And even if an agreement is reached in the next 3 months, President Trump had warned just last week that tariffs of some sort would stay in place on most US trading partners.
You are going to always have a baseline. I mean, there could be an exception at some point. We'll see. Somebody does something exceptional for us. That's always possible. But basically, you have a baseline of a minimum of 10%. And some of them will be much higher, 40%, 50%, 60%, as they've been doing to us over the years.
And if tariffs like that do remain in place, it may take years for the long-term impacts on global trade to be felt by businesses and consumers alike. Willem Marks, Al Jazeera, Geneva.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced new measures aimed at tightening legal migration system. His government's under pressure to counter the popularity of Nigel Faragher's right-wing anti-immigration reform UK party. But employers are worried that the plans will make it harder for companies to fill vacancies. Al Jazeera's Charlie Angela reports.
Your cup of tea is ready?
Thank you so much.
Vaibavi is part of a team that cares for Dinesh, who has Parkinson's. She feeds and bathes him. She is his lifeline to the outside world. But new restrictions on visas for workers providing social care will mean providers can't hire workers like Vaibavi from overseas. There are already 130,000 vacancies in social care. Employers say this will only get worse.
Then after some time I will have to do
There is a huge demand for care. It is not being met by local staff. Where we can, we absolutely want to recruit local staff. Going to the overseas market is then the next stage.
But you are doing well. You are able to hold it and drink it.
The government says it will tackle every area of the immigration system.
Work, family and study will be tightened up so we have more control. Skill requirements raised to degree level. English language requirements across all routes, including for dependents. The time it takes to acquire settled status extended from 5 years to 10.
Ministers hope to deliver some changes quickly, cutting by 50,000 the number of lower skilled and care workers coming to the UK pretty much straight away.
The idea of trying to reduce net migration by attacking particularly students, care workers, business people, where we already know that economists are saying that it's absolutely crucial to have more supply in these sectors, is going to affect us economically, but it's also going to have major social consequences when people don't have carers to look after their elderly relatives.
This about turn on immigration policy is Labour's big hope to curb the rise of reform. The populist right party won big in local elections with its promise of net zero immigration. The government hopes that by the next general election it will be able to reverse the steady increases seen over the last 2 decades. Charlie Angela, Al Jazeera, London.
This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-day forecast. And that's it, TV2 Headline News for this Tuesday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. You can tune in tomorrow at 6:30 a.m. for a rebroadcast and at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other.